Hello and welcome to a brand new GCSE and A-level maths and physics revision channel. Now this video is just going to be a small introduction to what this channel is going to be, and it's also going to outline some key points about what you should do to help you revise. Now you may have noticed I'm not like your other revision channels. I sound quite young. That's because I only just did my A-levels last year and I did get A stars in both maths and physics. Now to get those A stars, I did exactly these 7 key points, which I've outlined here, which I'm going to talk you through and tell you how you can do this and apply these skills to your GCSEs as well as your A levels. When I first started my GCSEs, I did not do very well in maths or physics. Now, I was struggling. I wasn't really trying very hard. At some point in year 10, around I'd say pre-January time, I did start to revise more, and that led to me getting quite good grades at GCSE. Now A level was a similar story. However, I did start working hard from the start. In year 10, I did start revising quite a lot. However, those first couple months of A level were absolutely awful, and I'm sure if you just started year 12, you've probably looked at maths and physics and are worrying about what's going to happen. And I'm just going to tell you right now, it gets a lot better. The first topic I did at Maths A level was about exponentials, and I remember I did absolutely awful on that test. Everyone in my class did awful, and I thought, wow, maybe this isn't for me. However, in my actual A levels, after doing these 7 points for 2 years, I did these things, and I ended up getting 281, which I thought was unbelievable. It really showed how far I came. And honestly, from around, I'd say March time, where my last year 13 mocks were, I improved so much. And that is because I just really just focused so hard on all of this. And that's what you guys have to be doing if you want to get the same results. Now, I am well aware that I may not have the same experience as other revision channels do, but the fact that I did both my GCSEs and A levels quite recently, I think these tips will really help. Now, my first point is don't make in-depth notes. Now, I did say that I followed these 7 key points closely, but that one I did not, and I regret it so much. Now, my third A level I did was computer science, and I made so many notes, and it ended up ruining me. I mean, I got an A, which I'm very happy about, but it wasn't great. It really wasn't great. I used too many notes, and I did the same for maths and physics, which was stupid because I'd write my notes in maths, and then when I'd go home, I'd spend time rewriting the notes, which who knows why I did that, but I did it anyway. Now, I did get an A star, but that was so much time wasted, which I could have spent revising. And honestly, don't make the same mistake because there's so many resources online which have the notes already written for you. Now, my favorite one is PMT. Now, that one has notes for everything. It doesn't go really in depth, but if you use other platforms as well, you can definitely get enough information. I also use Quizlet. Now, Quizlet had flashcards. I think everyone knows that. But if you use that along with the PMT notes, then really you're doing well. Save My Exams. Save My Exams also has notes, but they are behind a sort of like a paywall. So I wouldn't recommend using them really. I mean, if you want to pay, you can use them, but I found that PMT definitely does it as well as it does a good enough job. So yeah, my second key point: finish the exercise started in class. This applies to obviously both GCSE and A level. You have to finish what you started. Now, for A level, the best example I can give is, well, in maths, I'm sure the teacher will go through some content, and then at the end, you usually get questions from a textbook. What I did from the beginning of year 12 all the way to the end of year 13 was I always finish the exercises which they gave us. Now, some of you might have that for homework, but some of you might not. So I would say definitely finish what you've started in class because it really helps just to build that foundation of knowledge. I've already said about the revision resources, but also textbooks are also very helpful. And, well, my videos. Right. Well, my fourth point is now, this is, I think, the most important one. Do lots of past paper questions. And this ties into the fifth point, which is to mark and learn from your mistakes. I think this really applies. This one, GCSE and A level students should both be doing this. I did. I think every part. Well, at GCSE, maybe I didn't do every single past paper, but at A level, I did every past paper and I did it a couple times over. That's what you need to be doing. You need to just really try and get them improve. You know, don't be like looking through the answers. You just have to go what your first instinct is, and you have to follow it through. And if you struggle, if you do bad, that's fine. It really is not an issue. The whole point is you have to learn from what mistakes you've made. Now, you can do this, but obviously looking through the mark scheme. I will be making my own exam sort of run throughs where I can go through my thinking and talk you through it, because obviously the mark scheme is built for examiners, so it doesn't really teach you what you've messed up. But also the exam report is very important. Now that exam report always says what students did well on and what students did bad on. If you've done something bad, then you can improve, and you can see that other people have made those exact same mistakes. A lot of the times you are in a battle with the exam. You will open up a question and you will see it and you will think, what is actually happening? And that was something that happened to me on my physics paper 2 A level. I saw one question which I saw and I thought, I actually panicked. My brain went blank. I could not believe what they were showing me. It was something about batteries, but it was awful. It was an awful question. But the tip here is everything they've asked you is based on the content, so they can be really obscure about it. But if you just take some time and think, then you can do really well. Something I hadn't done on any other past papers, but I did on this one question, was I decided to underline and highlight the key piece of information on the question, because there's just so much unnecessary information which they've left in that is really important. Because at GCSE and at A level, what they like to do is just write paragraphs about unnecessary stuff. And that seems to be a trend that they're doing more and more in physics, because um, in 2024 there was a really bad paper 2. A lot of people really struggled, and it was one of the worst. Last year as well, it was also terrible. I came out of the exam thinking I'd done really bad. Everyone I talked to thought they did really bad, but actually that ended up being my highest score in physics paper, which just goes to show maybe you don't do as bad as you think. If you think you've done bad, don't worry, because a lot of people will be feeling exactly the same, especially if you've been revising and you know you put the work in. Then if you see a bad question, you have to just know everyone is struggling on that as much as you are. Now, another point actually I haven't put down, which really helped me at GCSE and, well, really especially at A level, is that there is always someone in your class who just knows everything. They just know everything. It comes naturally to them. They know it the first time they see them, and then they just smash every mock exam, every single end of topic test. They smash. I would say, in your head, make a little competition with them to try and do better than them. Now that sounds a bit silly, but honestly, it can motivate you. If you're struggling with motivation, just try that, because I'm quite a competitive person myself, so I find that really helpful just to have like a sort of competition going with people in my class in my head to try and beat them. Right, next point, ask for help. Now, this is pretty obvious, but I really did not do it much. You have to speak to your teachers. This final point, I didn't really get to utilise at GCSE, but at A level, I used it, but actually, I didn't use it that much. So, when I say I used all these points, I mean, most of them I did use, but this one I did not. I didn't really use ChatGPT that much to aid my learning, but it can be super helpful. Let's say you're doing an exam paper, there's a question you've struggling on, you look at the mark scheme, makes no sense. You look at the examiner report, makes no sense. I haven't made a video on it, for example. Ask ChatGPT, take a photo of the question, put it in, and ask it to explain it, and it can. It will just help you so much, like having your own personal tutor with you at all times. Well, if you look in my bio, I also have links to a rag sheet. Now I'm going to explain that. This is only for A level maths and physics, so unfortunately I haven't made a GCSE one yet. But I use that during my A level exams, and that really helped me to see what gaps in my knowledge I had, and I think that is great. I'll make a separate video explaining how to use it and everything. I also have an email so that you can email if you have any video requests or if you need help on any specific questions. But yeah, I think that's it. I really would appreciate it if you did subscribe, because I'm going to be making quite a lot of videos to try and help everyone here become better and understand maths and physics, GCSE and A level to the best they can.